All right, Coach, if you would, an opening statement, please.
Yeah, I'll start by saying my heart's heavy. I lost a dear friend this morning, didn't wake up. His name's Tim Lee, lives down in Montgomery. Man's been really important to me, so it's kind of with a heavy heart. Not many people know him, but he was a massive influencer in the state of Alabama. And so that was a tough one. I wanted to recognize that because his family's in a lot of pain right now. And besides that, it's good to get a win. Any win is a great win. As I told the team, we did it. I don't want this thing to become, anything else than we. Defense came out in the second half, responded really well, got some stops, able to get the offense back on the field. We were able to finish off drives, which was super important. We didn't finish them off in the first half. But most importantly, I just think, our season will be defined by how we respond to bad things. Bad things are going to happen, a lot of them. I mean, it's just inevitable, and we got to handle them well. We got to handle whatever comes our way in a manner which is classy, which is together and moving forward, and can't dwell on the bad things that happen in games. So we're not going to be perfect, be far from it, but we'll get better and better each week, and I'm proud we were able to get this one.
Start with Steve.
You put that to the test with the way you responded to the end of the first half and the start of the second half. 14-point swing right there. Kind of what did you see from your team at that point, and kind of how big was it to come back from that?
Yeah, I really went into this one obviously doing everything in our power to win, but I wanted to learn something about us, and I still don't have all the answers obviously, but I think this is a team that has character, and it's a team that has good self-talk. It's a team that doesn't turn on each other. It's a team that will encourage each other in tough times, and that's really important. I thought offensively, our ability to be diverse is really important. We can run it, we can throw it, we can run it inside, run it outside, get the ball on the edges. It puts a lot of pressure on the defense. We can play fast, we can play slow. And then most importantly, we were clean, very few penalties. We lost games in the past because unsportsmanlikes and personal fouls and knucklehead things, and we didn't do much of that tonight. The illegal procedure down near the goal line was tough. That's a tough one. But besides that, I thought we were pretty clean. And, I thought defensively they came out and they made good adjustments. And, they got beat on some plays. I thought first half I didn't think they didn't play, obviously, to their standard. Had a lot of opportunities to make plays and didn't. The second half, they clamped down a little bit more, and they just got beat by a couple really phenomenal plays. Tight window throws, just exceptional effort by the players at Alabama State. So we did enough for us to win the game, and that's the most important thing.
When you face an opener, face a quarterback like that in the opener that is as fast as he is and just kind of unique a little bit, how tough is it? Because you can't really replicate that in practice. I mean, was that part of what, the struggle in the first half a little bit?
I think so, Steve. I think, the first game, you don't really know what you're going to get. And there was a lot of guesswork. We try not to chase ghosts. The one thing we did know was that he was a very good player, and we had to do everything we can to contain him. And they do a really good job with giving him opportunities to make plays in the run game and the passing game. And he does a great job with his poise. I mean, that kid is so poised. He has great spatial awareness, and then can really rip the ball down the field, and tight window throws are tough for college kids to make, and he made a bunch of them tonight. So I look for him to have a fantastic season.
You've talked about the floor being too low during camp. Was that the case today on defense? And then how surprising was it to see that from the defense based on what you had seen during camp?
Well, I just think as a football team, we still have to raise the floor. I don't think it's just defense. I think, inability to close out drives offensively, missed assignments, obviously some missed opportunities on defense. I think just in general, we got to raise the floor. I've told you guys, you're around me almost every single day, that I'm not trying to give coach speak, but it's going to sound like it. Like, it's going to be about how we respond and how we get better. Like, hopefully we are significantly better next week and then better the week after that. In this era of college football, when you're redoing your roster every year and your coaching staff, you got to trust the process of getting better. A lot of these kids will get a lot better. We'll get better in our schemes. We'll get better as a group. So we got to trust that process and keep getting better every single day.
A lot of good momentum shifts from your specialists, specifically in the punt and kick return. Kind of just what did you think about that group today?
Yeah, it's a huge piece of what we do. Our special team, John Jones, just has done an incredible job with that unit. Our guys like special teams. I think that's another thing too is, defense primarily makes up the core of your special teams. And we recruited guys that in the portal that we felt could contribute on teams. It was part of the recruiting process, was making sure they bought into, if they come here, nothing's guaranteed except an opportunity, but the greatest opportunity is on special teams. So, you have a lot of veteran players that, jump out of bed in the morning and are excited about playing special teams. So if you have that and you have a great coach like we do in John Jones, you're going to be good on teams. I think it depends on what metrics you look at, but anywhere between 29 and 33 last year in the country in teams, and we feel like we can be even better this year. I think, losing Cameron Shanks obviously was concerning as a returner. He was such a dynamic All-American returner. But with Solomon and Strapp, and then, we have others too that aren't quite healthy that will contribute in the return game that we think will be really good. The other thing to note too, I just will say this, I kept this somewhat quiet, but we were incredibly beat up on defense, like a MASH unit. So we'll get healthier too, and as we get healthier, we'll play better defense.
We've all talked through camp. You've talked about it as an offensive line being, a question mark, not quite knowing what they were going to be. Part of that was not quite knowing what five would be out there. Yep. But kind of through one game now with a game like this, sort of what was your thoughts about the way they played? Well,
I always like to watch the tape before I do it. I do think they missed some assignments. I think we struggled, against some pressure looks, some condensed looks. That's concerning, but I thought their effort was fantastic. I thought their pass protection, we could have thrown it a lot more. I was the conservative one tonight. I'm the one that made us highly conservative. I trumped a bunch of pass calls and made them runs. So everybody's mad about the conservative nature. You can be mad at me, not more. But I thought they protected really well. And we wanted to set them up for success, too. We wanted to set the quarterback and the offensive line up for success. So I thought our protection schemes were very sound. And I thought the guys executed at a high level. I don't think Jalen got hit on a pass play. I could be wrong, but I don't think he did. That's a really good sign.
And Jalen, without a turnover tonight, obviously there's been a lot of talk about that too. Mm-hmm. Just kind of what did you think about his decision making tonight, and how big is it for him to not have a turnover in the opener?
It's massive. He's going to turn the ball over, guys. We're going to have turnovers, but he was just very decisive. He's very clean with his reads. His eye progression was great. He started in the right place. He turned down a couple that would have been 50-50s. I thought that the two batted balls in the line of scrimmage, he made actually really good reads to throw them. They were RPO plays, and they matched hands and got the ball down. I thought he was really, really clean. His process has grown so much. It's only his ninth start. I thought the last 2 weeks, you could see it really coming. We sat down. I can't get my days wrong. Today's Thursday, right? So Tuesday afternoon, which is our normal Thursday, we always spend a couple hours together in the afternoon. And I think it's probably been 50-50 talking over the past year. This was more 75-25 him talking just about how he's really gained a better understanding of the position, what allows him to play his best. I think he's really grown as a leader. I couldn't be more proud of the kid. He's just handled himself in such a professional way, and tonight was a reflection of his preparation. There'll be times we have to throw it more. The great thing about him is he doesn't care. He's not a kid that's asking to throw more. Our narrative on the sideline is next play, execute the next play, or whatever it is, and he handles a lot in the run game. Some of those runs were him. We do some checks in the line of scrimmage, and he gets us in the best run, and we pipe some big ones. The big one to close out the game, by the way, I shout out Rip Shear. We're sitting there on oh gosh, my nights. Monday night, which is third down. No, Sunday night was third down night. I can't remember what night was third down night. And they have a pressure package that is virtually impossible to execute against, and they pull it out in big moments. And we sat there and we probably spent 90 minutes going, how are we going to do this? What's our answers? And then Rip Shear in his wise way says, why don't you wham the linebacker with the tight end? And we're like, yeah, that's the best idea. And we started fleshing out, and Rip kind of drew it up, and then all the minds went together, and then we called it there. That's the one JJ popped to get down to the 4 to close out the game, and that's why I always brag about the staff. We got great coaches. They're humble. Man, they have so much wisdom. And I told the offense coaches on the headsets late in the game, I said, I was just so proud of the poise, the composure, the conversation, the collaboration. I think everybody contributed to calling that game tonight. Everybody had a good idea. Riley Jeffers had great 4-minute ideas that helped us keep moving the ball. But I want to give a shout out to Rip. He's the one that drew up that play and helped us pipe it. So that was fun.
Talked a lot about Jalen's improvements as a passer. What did you see from him as a blocker?
Yeah, that was pretty
play?
cool, huh? His teammates were fired up. It was a great effort there. I think if Solomon keeps it front side, he walks in, but we made it a little harder than it had to be. He's just, he's going to go by how decisive he is. When he's decisive and pulls the trigger and sees it clearly and his eye progression is on point, he's going to be tough to stop. He has really good receivers to throw to. We have a good scheme. So, no, there'll be ebb and flows. There's going to be some tough times, and I trust that he'll handle those tough times well. And it was nice to get this one under his belt where it was clean, but there'll be a lot of challenges this season, and I think he'll respond well to them.
And is this what you saw from Javon when you recruited him out of the portal?
Yeah, I don't want to make this you're sitting there December 23rd and you have half a roster and half a coaching staff, and you're kind of sitting there like, God, please, just, I can't. Like, you gotta make things happen here and bring us the right people. And that's where I started. And JJ's got a lot of qualities as a runner, but he's the right kind of person. I think that the collective character of this team is just so different than we've had in the past. And he was a really key cog in that, because when he came up in the portal recruiting cycle, I just grinded the coaches. I'm like, don't bring me a prima donna back. I said, we'll play empty and we'll throw it every down. I'm not dealing. We have Solomon, we have Isaiah. I don't need a prima donna back. And Danny Mitchell came to me and said, this dude is everything you believe in a football player. And I got to meet his parents, and I got to meet, just his story. And he's everything we're looking for. I mean, that room is something special. They have a great coach in Danny. They have a great mentality. We did this off-season book project. We did The Power of Positive Teams by John Gordon. They had chapter reviews, and they had to send me. I did the first chapter, and I showed them on a slide. Here's my standard of a book report on a slide. And I'd done it, and I showed them everything. I said, now you got to meet the standard every week. We did it. And they had to turn them in by, I think it was Wednesday night. And every time I'd open them, and the whole team did good, but the one every single week that would bring tears in my eyes was the running backs. And they would present a perfect, 8-point slide, summarize the chapter, give me a quote, give me a thought at the end. And I knew right then, I'm like, these guys get it. And they're just a really good group, and I'm glad they're on our team.
Were you, sorry, one more. Were you aware of his dad and the brain surgery, and then how big is it that he was able to have this kind of performance in that moment?
Again, I think our kids are our kids have done a great job of making the main thing, their families, their relationships, and then by doing that, they're able to come into the office and give us everything they have. And I think they appreciate the fact that we know the main thing isn't football. It's their lives, and I think giving JJ that space really freed him up to do what he loves to do, and he wouldn't have it any other way.